Yo, yo. What is the word, my beautiful black people? Got another old story for y'all. This one's kind of funny. All right, so years ago, I had a homeboy that was going to one of the local colleges, right? And he was there for a while. And just like any young man or just a man, period, he was girl crazy. So we were sitting around chilling, and he was like, "Oh man, I forgot to tell you, man. I forgot to tell you." I'm like, "What's up?" He say, "Man, I was standing in line at the cafeteria, man. Blah blah blah. And man, I wound up trying to turn around, man. And there was this girl standing behind me, right? Man, she looked like this, she looked like that. You know what I'm saying? She had this and that. I mean, he was smitten over the girl. Okay, so they started conversating, and I don't remember exactly how the conversation. Well, the conversation between them went well. Okay, but I don't remember how it ended. I don't remember how he ended the story, but basically, he met this girl. He thought she was very attractive, and they had like a good conversation. Okay, so we just sitting around chilling. A little while after that, and his phone rings. So, he picks up the phone. He's like, "Hello?" He's like, oh, yeah, yeah. He started doing that low talking. You know what I'm saying? So I could tell that it must have been a female that he was on the phone with. You know what I'm saying? So he's up there low talking. Yeah, da 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 da. And he's like, "All right." Then he hangs up, and then he's like cradling the phone in his arms, like, like he all in love, right? So I'm sitting there, and I'm like, "Man, who was that?" And he was like, "Man, the chick that I was telling you about that I met, that was her." And I'm like, "Huh?" I say, "Well, man, you didn't tell me that y'all exchanged numbers." And he was like, "We didn't." And I'm like, "Well, man, how was she able to call you?" And he said, "Man, she wound up looking through the student roster. She went to the office and found his name in the student roster. That's where she got his number from." And I'm listening, and I'm like, "Oh, yeah?" And I'm like, "Man," I say, "Dude, that don't sound like something a gal would do." Now, y'all got to think, okay? I'm talking about something that happened years ago. During the first stages of this whole, independent, I don't need a man movement. You know what I'm saying? That our women in the black community wound up embarking on. So back in those days, I mean, man, you know how it is. women have always been taught to be coy. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to men, and to basically let the man pursue you, so to speak. You know, like I said, it was in the early stages of this whole independent, strong woman. You know, go after what you want. You know, mentality that they wound up preaching. You know, for the past I don't know how many years. But like I said, this was years ago, and when he told me that she took it upon herself to find his number in the book in the student roster, that's what came to mind. I'm like, man, you know, that don't sound like something a female would do. And when I told this to him, he kind of got quiet and sat there. He kind of got quiet and sat there for a little while, right? You know, the wheels was turning inside his head. You know, it's like I gave him something to think about, you know. So he's just kind of sitting there just thinking about it. All right, so fast forward about maybe a week later. I'm back over there chilling with him at his crib. And he's like, man, let me tell you what happened. I'm like, okay. He was like, man, remember the gal I was telling you about I met? I'm like, yeah. He says, man, she calls me. And she's like, yeah, I almost got into a fight today, right? This is what this chick is telling him. And he's like, oh yeah? He's on the phone with her like, you about to get into a fight. You know, over what? What happened? She tells him something like, they were calling me a man. They were up there calling me a man. So he's like, oh yeah? And he gets all quiet. And she's like, what? So you don't want me to call you no more? And he's like, he said something like, yeah, I think that would be best. And he hangs up with her. Now, I don't know, man. Oh, you know what? You know what made me think about this? I was thinking about this whole thing with Sydney Starr, you know, the transgender model. You know, that story about Sydney Starr and homeboy that played Eddie Winslow. That's the story that's being talked about a little bit on social media about how they're friends and this and that. You know what I'm saying? That's what made me think about this story. But, you know, I got to thinking, and I got to thinking to myself, and I don't know. I don't know if I felt bad. I mean, I don't know, because I got to thinking, and between my assessment, you know, my statement about, you know, that don't seem like something a female would do, you know, taking it upon themselves to find his name in the student roster. Between that and the story that she told him about people up there at the school calling her a man, And then her coming out just all, out of nowhere talking about, what, you don't want me to call you no more? I was thinking about it, and the thing is, the information was very limited, about this person. I mean, he told me this story. I'm like, hey, man, that don't sound like something a female would do. Then she calls him talking about how people up there was calling her a man, and just coming out all sternly talking about, what, you don't want me to call you anymore. When you listen to that series of events, I mean, I don't know if I jumped the gun or he jumped the gun, after I made the statement that I made that got him to thinking. It's just there was very little information to go on to say that this wasn't a female. You know what I'm saying? I never saw this person. You know what I'm saying? He's telling me about this female that he met, and he was like raving about how good they looked, I don't know. Listening to the series of events that went down would lean you towards thinking that maybe this was a Sydney Star situation. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. Like I said, the information we had to go on was very limited. But it was just, the story is funny to me just thinking about it. As far as this transgender model, Sydney Star, look, I'm going to be perfectly honest with y'all. I found out about Sydney Star being a transgender after I seen the pics that Sydney Star took. Hell, I was fooled. I thought that this was like a 100% woman. You know what I'm saying? Come to find out, it's a transgender. Well, this person is a transgender. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. When I saw the stories about what's going on with Sydney Star and the guy that played Eddie Winslow, it just got me to thinking about this story, Funny stuff, yo. Anyway, I'll holler at y'all later. Peace.